What do I mean by context clues? This is it. Okay. I need to tell you something, Malak, before explaining the context clues. The professional writers, any professional writer, if that writer, if he or she wants to write something, he has to consider four things. He has to consider the examples. This is number one. He has to consider the synonyms. He has to consider, or she has, if the writer is a girl, antonyms and definitions. What do they mean? Let me give you an example. Sometimes the writer is going to write a word that the reader is not going to understand. For example, timid. Take a look at this word, which is timid. Because we are non-native speakers, Malak. You don't know the meaning of timid. And the writer knows that maybe some writers are non-native speakers. So he has to use these four skills for the writer to fully understand him, or maybe her. Okay? Okay. Now let me show you how the writer is going to use these four skills for any piece of writing to be professional. What do I mean by examples? What do I mean by synonyms, antonyms, or maybe definitions? Okay. Let's imagine that we have a writer, and this writer wrote this piece of writing or a paragraph. Okay. Now, let's read the paragraph and let me show you every skill the writer is going to use.
Sorry, do you mean they use example synonyms
Yes,
and
absolutely.
for the audience or for themselves?
For the audience, for you to understand them.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe there's people are not native,
Maybe
or
there are people, bravo, exactly. Absolutely.
okay.
Because let me tell you, let me give you an example, Malak. Now, let's imagine that an American writer, if I want to use the sophisticated language all the time, only Americans are going to read my novel. Yeah, I have to be simple. I have to be as simple as much as you can. For example, just for my novel to be general. I mean, for all people in all over countries, maybe should read my novel. The people in Pakistan, in India, in Philippines, in Lebanon,
Yeah.
for example. Yes, these are the characteristics of a professional writers. I'm not talking about ordinary writers.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that you are still confused. Let me explain them. Let's imagine that in the Duolingo exam, now in reading and completing, read and complete, you have this text. Okay. The text is saying it was time for the band to march on the field. The crowd was ecstatic. Okay. People screamed and cheered. Okay. Now, maybe you don't know the meaning of cheered.
But
Okay.
it's similar of screamed.
Bravo. Or maybe you don't know, for example, showing their excitement. The music intensified or maybe and increased. Okay. Maybe you don't know the meaning of intensified. Because you don't know the meaning of intensified, notice how the writer used what? Synonyms. Synonym. The synonym of intensified is what?
Increased.
Increased, absolutely. So, and notice how he used or maybe and. Bravo.
Yes.
And maybe in the complete and right, you have only the first two letters. Maybe you are confused. You don't know that it is intensified, but because you have synonym, which is increased, you will know that the synonym of increased is what? Intensified. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Now, let me complete reading just to show you how the writer is going to use another skill. Unlike her timid, you don't know the meaning of timid, friends, Morgan was unafraid. Okay, let's imagine, Malak, that in the Duolingo exam, you have only TI or maybe T. And you don't know how to complete this word. What do we have here? Unlike. Unlike is the opposite. Now, in the second or the next class, we have what? Unafraid. And we have unlike. What is the opposite of unafraid?
Opposite?
Afraid. Bravo.
Afraid.
So the meaning of timid is what? Afraid.
Okay. Okay.
Bravo. So notice how the writer used what? Antonyms. This is
Okay.
it. Okay. Maybe, Malak, the writer is not going to use synonyms. Maybe the writer is not going to use antonyms. Okay, let me complete reading. So, unlike her timid friends, Morgan was unafraid to perform in front of the roaring crowd. Gave a standing ovation, holy God. I don't know the meaning of ovation. Okay, absolutely, you have to complete reading. Now, the fans, people, stood and clapped to show their appreciation for such a great performance. So notice how writer defined the unknown word. Definition. So notice how the writer is in the next absolutely sentence is going to tell you the meaning of ovation. Ovation means
It's a definition of ovation.
bravo. This is it. What does ovation mean? Ovation means when people stand and clap their hands to show their appreciation. So they are extremely happy. Okay? So notice how the writer used what? Definition.
Okay.
So maybe the writer is not going to use synonyms, maybe not antonyms, maybe not definitions. Now, 100% he's going to use examples. Let me show you an example. Bravo. Now, it was time for the band to march on the field. The crowd was ecstatic. You don't know the meaning of ecstatic. So notice how the writer is going to give you an example about ecstatic. An example is what?
Screamed.
Another example is what?
Bravo. Cheered.
Bravo.
Okay.
So the ecstatic means when people are screaming and cheering. So this is the meaning of ecstatic. So absolutely, Malak, the writer is going to use one of them. This is the meaning of context clues.